So you want to talk about strings, huh? Everybody seems to want to talk about strings. So I did a Twitter poll thingy, my dad, recently, and I asked everyone like, "Hey, what do you want to talk about? You want to talk about strings? You want to talk about if statements? Where are we gonna go next in this whole PowerShell let's chat thing?" And for some reason, you guys like overwhelmingly 95%, actually more than 95%, things like 98% of you were all like, "Let's talk about string manipulation." So here we are. Let's chat about strings. Before we jump into working with strings exactly, we're going to set up a little bit of a workspace here that we're going to work inside of. Now, if you remember, last week we set up a Git repository on how to set up, kind of create a Git repository, and how to just get started with Git. So this week, though, we're going to create a folder, and we're going to create kind of a workspace that we're going to be working within. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump in. If we go ahead and open up VS Code here, you can see that we're right where we left off. I'm going to go ahead and come over here. I'm going to right click in the panel, in the Explorer panel over here, click New Folder, and I'm going to say Strings Lesson 1. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and hit Enter. This is going to create a folder inside of our workspace, and inside of here, we can then create a new file to store this kind of code thing that we're going to be doing. I'm going to just call this Strings PS1 for now. We'll just call this Strings PS1, okay? Now, there's some interesting details to know about strings. Now, I mentioned earlier on that we have these things called types, right? So if I have a string and then a variable called string equals, and then let's say hello world. This here is a string, okay? Oops, helps if you spell the word right. There we go. This here is a string, okay? It is a string called hello world. However, it's very important to note that a string is actually an array of characters. Okay, it's an array of characters. It's not just one thing, it's an array, right? Which is weird, right? Because we know that arrays are another type of object. So how can a string be an array? Well, let's look at this real quick. So if we have this string here, and just to prove this, if we go down here, and just real quick note here, if my terminal doesn't look like your terminal, I'm using a thing called Oh My Posh to shorten the length of the path and stuff like that, so it's a little bit easier to see and keep track of where I am. If you're interested in how to set up and configure Oh My Posh, let me know in the comments down below, and I will do a video on how to set up Oh My Posh in your environment so that you can kind of customize that out. All right, that being said, so if I was to take string and I was to do get type, we can actually prove out that this is in fact a string, 100% guaranteed a string, right? However, if we do string and we want to access the first character of that string, we can hit 0. And if we do that, you'll notice that we get the first character of the string, because a string is really an array of characters, okay? It's an array of characters along the way. Now, this seems kind of weird, but there's some really cool ways and interesting ways that we can kind of use and abuse this. Because at the end of the day, a text file or any file is nothing more than an array of strings, right? And inside of that array of strings then is an array of characters. So what does that look like? Let's take a quick look here. So I'm just going to create a really generic file called strings.txt, okay? Strings.txt. I'm going to write hello world. Everything is awesome. Everything is cool when you're part of a team or something of that nature, right? Cool. So I'm going to just go ahead and save this, okay? Now, how would I load this series of text into a object or into that array, right, and then access them? Well, if I just do something like, there's a PowerShell command list for this. It's called get content, okay? So if we do $strings, and because this is going to be a series of strings, I'm going to use the plural word here, and we'll do get content, and we'll do /, and then we'll do strings, .text. Okay? And what this now is going to do is when I type in strings and hit enter, we'll get a series of strings. Now again, as a reminder here, right? As a reminder, this, just going to clear my screen here, these strings, right? If I do get type, they are an object, right? They're an object. They're not, let me do this real quick here, right? They are an object, okay, of system type array, which means that I can do stuff like strings 0, 0, and I can actually get the first letter of the first string. Okay, so we say, hey, give me string 1 of the array of strings, or string 0 of the array of strings, right? And give me character 0 of the array of the string. This is going to be super important as we get on into more advanced concepts like how we do substrings, length, and various other types of calculations when it comes to strings. I hope this video was helpful and informative and didn't just confuse you, and I hope you're looking forward to talking more about strings in the coming weeks. Thanks for watching. Have a wonderful day.